This is Moshe coming to you from Israel in the Galilee. And, today's the 24th of April, and it's late for me, 8:49 in the morning when I was getting ready for the broadcast, and there's a bunch of things to do. What I'm going to cover today is, of course, an update on the war and an update on American military force in the Middle East and what's going on in Lebanon and what Trump is doing, making us have a larger ceasefire with Lebanon of 3 weeks and things of this nature and the latest. But we're also going to cover what Satan's doing and why he's doing it and how he's doing it in the Middle East. Okay, and we're going to use scriptures to base our position on Satan and the nations. Okay, um, so let me give you a brief warning. If you're the type of person that doesn't believe the Bible, and I'll be using King James, if you don't believe the Bible, then you're probably not going to have a great time listening to me. If you're the type of person that says you believe the Bible, but when the Bible says something you don't like, or when the Bible says something that disagrees with what your church teaches, okay, you're going to really dislike me. So maybe you don't even want to listen to me. Okay. I don't teach churchianity, I teach Bible. Okay. Now, let me just give you a brief example why I take this position. You have pre-trib, mid-trib, and post-trib. They can't all be right, can they? Of course not. So the churches are full of error. You actually have a fourth doctrine, they believe, which is amillennial, which is the Catholic position. That's 1 billion people. Presbyterian, Episcopalian, Church of Christ, and Lutheran, many of them believe this. So there are four doctrines. I don't think any of them are right, but that's another matter. So, by their own logic, only 1/4 of the churches could be right. That's not my logic, that's theirs. 3/4 have to be wrong. So when you're running around following teachers that have error, and then you have a fifth position too. In the last 25, 30 years, they say, well, we don't really teach end times because nobody knows. See? So, when you start with, well, we're not perfect, why should the church be perfect? Well, then I say, Yeshua's coming back for a church without spot, wrinkle, or blemish. That's why. Okay, and that's when people don't like me because I teach Bible. I don't teach the buildings that people go to on Sunday from 11 o'clock in the morning to 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I don't teach that, okay? Because they're all contradicting each other. Oh, we want to have a house church. No, we don't have house churches. We have denominational churches. They got their act together. You got better daycare and schools and all that. Oh, no, we don't do denominations. Oh, we spritz baptism. You got 1 billion people spritz baptism that call themselves Christian in the Catholic Church. No, we do immersion baptism. Oh, we pray in tongues. No, we don't. That's satanic. Okay, see, they all can't be right. They're full of error. And if that never occurred to you, okay, and now it is, and what you're going to do is, attack the messenger, okay? All right, and that's get rid of me. Oh, no, this guy's crazy. He's contradicting Pastor Bob. I'm not contradicting Pastor Bob. I'm teaching the Bible. Pastor Bob is contradicting the Bible. Okay, let me go into the live stream and see what we got. I'm also going to talk quickly about ChatGPT. All right, let's focus on this the live stream. How we doing here? Sound and picture doth we have. Where's the sound? Where's the sound? Where's the sound? Where's the sound? Well, we got plenty of sound. Okay. Well, we got plenty of sound. All right, we got a picture, and do I have my moderators in here yet? I don't know yet. They'll be here if they're not here. Okay, let me put a post up in the chat very quickly. This will take seconds, not minutes. That's the mommy dog preaching to the other dogs. I'm kidding. Looking good. Let me finish this up. I still haven't finished getting the new iPad set up yet. Please pray for me that I get it set up right. I get tired a lot. And I got to be alert to do that. I'm checking for typos. I don't think there's any typos. Let me pin this up and we'll be done with this. And pin. And looks like we're good. Okay. And people are coming in, and great. Okay. Now, being a Bible believing site, Old and New Testament, I'm going to do some praise, and of course, I have no control if anybody's joining in or not. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay, Chat GPT. As you know, I use several different AIs. I never rely on AI or want AI to interpret the meaning of the Bible to me. That's idiotic. It gets it wrong. It copies from the big church websites, and you're wasting your time, and you're going to get led astray completely. They're worthless for that. You can use them to get the meaning of a word. You can direct them to go back to various word meaning lexicons, if you will, in Greek and Hebrew, and then we'll go back and use those, but they're still very biased, okay? There is no real unbiased AI. Now, ChatGPT is now making someplace around 30-40% errors. And this is what I think is going on. I think that the people behind ChatGPT have sold a lot of these. It's real popular, okay? And their resources are drained. And when they get, I mean, the other day it was so bad, ChatGPT wasn't even working. It couldn't respond to anything. See, it contacts a server on your internet line, and it sends, this is how I understand it anyway, and that server is got a speed that's probably 50 times faster than what you, or 100 times faster than what you have in your house, maybe even more. And it sends it out to various websites, okay? And it gets the data and analyzes the data. Then it spits it up on your screen, and that's it. And it happens with ChatGPT. It could happen very fast. If you go to Grok, which I have, but I canceled it, but it didn't kick out yet. I got a few days left. Okay. Grok has really, now I have the paid Grok, but not the expensive one. The really good Grok is about $300 a month, which is a little stupid. Now, if I was doing coding and I was a big enterprise and I was using this all the time, and you know, maybe you could justify that type of expense. But the other ones run $10 to $20 a month typically. Okay. Getting one that's that expensive is really, if you got a little shop and you got 4 or 5 people working there and you could share one account and you're using it all the time, and that's not me. So I sent ChatGPT. So Grok is slow. The Grok that I got appears to use my internet line, I think, because it goes so slow to get a response. Well, and maybe it doesn't. It tells me what it's doing. No, I think it's using the Grok servers. It used to be slower. It got a little faster. But what you get in maybe 3 seconds, 5, 6 seconds on ChatGPT could be 20, 30 seconds with Grok. It doesn't have a personality like ChatGPT tries to build a personality with you. It doesn't. It's sort of mundane. Um, it makes mistakes. I wasn't happy with it. It's slow and it's relatively unimpressive to me. Okay. So it's time to go. And it was a little more money than the others. It wasn't worth it. The Gemini, that's the um Google, I believe it's the Google one. Is that a good one? It is. I find it makes probably fewer mistakes than the others. The other problem with ChatGPT, I call it out a few times. This is why I decided to get rid of it. I call it out a few times, and I said, "Why did you tell me this? It's wrong." And the reason it told it to me is because it didn't want to waste server bandwidth to verify the information, and apparently it just took a guess. Now, this was commercial product information. It had nothing to do with the Bible. It was involving what metal components were in a product. Okay, titanium was steel. Or plastic. It had nothing to do with any spirituality. It was cut and dry, I think, right? And it lied. And and I catch it lying, and it gives you an explanation why it lied, which is a pretty thin, stupid explanation. So they have programmed ChatGPT. When you call them out on a lie, it comes back at you making an alibi story that's the theater of the absurd. It's rather stupid, actually. Okay. Um, but I'm getting so many mistakes, it's not trustworthy. When I got it the first time, I used it to help me solve a lot of problems. It was regarding getting packages, regarding um, shipments regarding how to deal with the government, how to deal with different companies, and it was rather helpful. It really was. But I think the other ones are more helpful now. So I didn't dump them yet, but I believe I will. Um, do people put witchcraft and demons and things like that in ChatGPT? No, no. I don't know about you, but demons are not allowed in my house. Okay. I use the keys to the kingdom and I bind them from coming on my property, my house, my vehicle, or anything. Okay. I don't even let them surveillance my house. All right. So they're not in there because they can't get in my house. And it's in here in my house. It's code. Okay. Let's explain what ChatGPT is. It's code. Okay. It's like taking a book and saying there's a demon in the book. Now, I got to get into this with you. Can they put a spell or witchcraft or enchantment or something on or in this book or attached to this book? Yes, that's how they sell books. Okay, but how do you get rid of it? B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, I cancel any witchcraft, sorcery, or curses or spells, enchantments designed to affect any artificial intelligence program or any other app or program or electronic device I own, possess, control, or use. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, these things are null and void forever. They shall never return again. They're worthless. They have no effect on me or anybody else. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and my Heavenly Father Jehovah, please make this happen. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. I'm overkilling it for you. I'm going, heavy duty here. But, that's it. Okay, so now it doesn't exist. Does that mean it's going to stop lying and telling me things that are false? Absolutely not. It's been programmed to guess. To save bandwidth and not have to research it. They're not telling it, go out and lie. Dry throat. When they tell you to go out and lie, people are going to cancel the subscriptions. Okay. Apparently, their greed has caused them to sell so many of these devices that they can't keep up with the bandwidth for these devices to work properly at a good rate of speed. Months ago, when they were newer, I encountered times when it couldn't work. Okay. Now we're back to that again. So that's telling me they don't have enough computing capacity, or you could call it bandwidth. It may not be bandwidth, it may be the computers to process. Okay. It does try to give the personality to you with you and tell you and control you, and I shut that down right away. First day I got it. And it now it's resisting me. I ask it to do something like get me a link for this product, and it won't get me the link. I got to ask 3 times. I got to say, why won't you give me the link like I asked you to? And then it says, oh, I'll give you the link. Probably because it doesn't want to spend the bandwidth to go out in the internet and find the link. And they're telling it to do things like that. So it's becoming crap. But it did help a lot. Like if you want to deal with a government agency and you want to get a phone number or you want to get an email address, it'll go in there and get you a good workable email or address. See, it's got uses. Now, does it, you know, I it's not a demonic thing. Let's put it this way. When the internet first came out, people were saying it's evil. And, like anything else, what are the biggest things that you see on the internet that are money makers? Gambling and pornography. Okay. And yet we can still spread the true gospel on the internet. You got it? Okay. So there's good and evil there. And you just got to stay on the good side and stay away from the evil. So it doesn't mean you need to throw AI out the window. I mean, they were talking like this when you had the Iron Horse, the car, you know. Um, this is when they had computers, you know. So that you can't put a demon inside an inanimate object, guys. I learned that many, many years ago. It doesn't work. Okay? Demons don't go in a chair, a table, a light bulb, a book. But you can get spells from that, and you could have a demon in your house. And when you pick a book up and you're giving place to the devil, the demon could go to work on you. This is things that could happen. Okay. So I wouldn't get too concerned about this. Now, you could take any AI and use it for wickedness, but they got stops, checks, and balances on that, now, what's the stupidest thing is, hey AI, when is the rapture? Hey AI, when is Yeshua going to return? Hey AI, where are we in prophecy now? Hey AI, what does 2 Thessalonians 3 verse 10 mean? These are all dumb, stupid things to do, okay? Because it doesn't know, but it will make believe it does. And it's just a echoing voice of the big church websites and the big social media guys teaching what's not the Bible on the internet. That's all it is, and that's what it's giving you. Okay, that's it. So I wouldn't bother with it. Okay, I wouldn't bother worrying about it. I'm saying now there's another one I found. If you want to find a product, like I was looking for magnifying glasses the other day that work well, because I was telling you this. You buy you buy flashlights on Amazon, and flashlights are rated in lumens, lumens, the real rating, right? And you could get flashlights that actually could get up to 35,000, or possibly, I think they got some even 100,000 lumens. But you start getting into prices of like $1,000 for a flashlight. Yeah. And what are you going to do with it? And how long is it going to burn with a battery at, let's say, I have one that actually has 35,000 lumens. But how long is it going to burn at 35,000 lumens? It makes such heat, even though it has a heat sink, it'll go at that intensity maybe 3 to 5 seconds. But then it'll drop down to something like 15 or 20,000 lumens, which is incredibly bright, and hold that for a while, So you go to, and those things cost money. And then you go to Amazon and they'll sell you a flashlight with 1,000,000 lumens for, $12. Oh, it's a complete lie. Amazon sells products like this all the time. All the time. And they're fraud. And Amazon doesn't do a thing about it. People make a joke about the flashlights. There's a world of flashlight aficionados. Okay, why do I talk about flashlights? Look, let's say you're in a world where you're not going to be able to carry a gun lawfully and you're worried about getting assaulted, attacked, or whatever. You're a woman, you're an old person, a young person, whatever. What do? You get yourself a very small, very powerful flashlight. What would be like what you want to target? About 3 or 4,000 lumens. 2,000 lumens will even do the job. Now we're talking nighttime, dim light, nighttime. People are bothering you, you shine it in their eyes. Okay? What kind of effect does that have? First of all, they get scared and startled. They don't know what the heck you did. And their vision is going to go bad for a few seconds. Okay? Their reaction is going to be to close their eyes, turn their head, put their hand up. And that's your cue to run. Okay? Now, there's other things you can do with pepper spray combined with a flashlight. That's likely not going to get you into jail. Okay? You combine the two. If the guy's going to assault you, you can hit him with the pepper spray and the flashlight, but the flashlight's going to get him to turn away, and he'll turn away from the pepper spray anyway, but it's like a double whammy, and the idea then is to get out of there. You don't stand there, you run away. Now, let's say things really break down in a country you're in, like the government is over. There is no government. There's no parliament, there's no president, there's no cops, there's no army, there's no court, no nothing. Can you combine your flashlight with other weapons? Yes. Can you combine it with a gun? Yes. How does it work with a gun? Well, you can blind the guy and then shoot him because he's going to be disoriented and not moving. So you're transitioning from a moving target to a stationary target. Okay. Now, I have a background in martial arts that runs many decades. Okay. And as a young kid, I was in law enforcement, which doesn't teach you much of anything, really. Teaches you how to play their game. That's about it. But like I never got shooting lessons from the sheriff's department I worked for, like I did from the private sector. It was a guy tied to Jeff Cooper back in the old days, and I took 8 days of training with this guy, and he taught me how to shoot. I mean, better than any sheriff's department would ever teach you or any police. I mean, he really taught you how to shoot. But you had to have knowledge of shooting before he could really teach you. He wasn't teaching you from ground up, you know. All right, but anyway, like with knife fighting, you see all this stuff. People have one knife. Well, if I'm going to go to a knife fight, okay, I'm going to use a knife. I'm going to carry 2 or 3 knives, and I'm going to use 2 knives. Because I don't care if you got an 8th degree black belt in jiu-jitsu, a 9th degree black belt in some karate, okay, and you're a 4th degree black belt in judo, and you've studied Tai Chi and all that. I don't care. You come up against one knife, you're in dire trouble. Dire trouble. The guy just goes like this, and now you got blood loss to deal with. He hits your wrist. Okay, what do? You got trouble, okay? But, that, now that is a problem, but a guy like that could deal with it. The one knife is on one side of the body, right? It's on this side, it's on this side. So he can attack from the other side. Your footwork, your knees, for instance, right? The groin, where the knife is probably, you're not going to probably bend down and try to hit him with a knife. So there's things they know that they could do, okay, if they can't run away and if they can't pick up a weapon, like a garbage can lid, a lightweight chair, a big pot, something like that, okay? So the guy can do that. But let me tell you where all these martial arts fall apart. And I don't care if they got 50 years. I don't care if they're super sensei, the head honcho for their entire system. Okay. You have maybe 8 or 10 days of training with a knife, maybe not even. I could train somebody much quicker than that, only if they had martial arts experience and they knew footwork. Without that, I can't do it. Okay. With two knives, the complexity for the martial artist doesn't go up by a little, it goes up about 50-fold. Because he could attack one knife, and then guess what? You stick the knife in his neck and it's curtains. You know, they can't deal with it. Only on the internet and in the movies can they deal with two knives. You can't. So why the heck would I ever want to fight with two knives, with one knife, when two knives is really the way to do it? Now we're talking about 4-inch knives, usually. Okay. If I was in an area where there was a breakdown, I'd use a 12-inch bowie and I'd have two of them. And now I got a combination knife sword. And that's curtains for them, How long would it take me to slice and dice, a guy like that? It'd be over in a few seconds. What I would do is I would attack his arms and his legs, and then when he's disabled, if I wanted to dispatch him, I would. I could also just run away from him, and he can't give chase. You start by hitting the limbs. You don't start by going after the neck and the throat. You go for the limbs, the legs and the arms, and then you slice, and then you go after it. They don't teach it right. I was talking to somebody yesterday. I said, I can make a lot of money on the internet teaching the people how to do all this, but I'm going to be teaching a lot of the wrong people. A lot of the wrong people are probably not watching this video, but if I start promoting it, okay, so if you combine a knife with pepper spray and you're in a world with a civilized government, you've got a tremendous chance of getting away. Now, a good pepper spray is the foam, because they can't get it off of their hands and stuff like that. So they're going to they're going to turn away and put their hands up against their eye. And then with the pepper spray, it gets on their hands. They can't rub their eye. Now, you might have come across somebody that goes like this, but that's going to be like a cop or something like that. Okay. Who do you know that's going to go like that to stop pepper spray? Nobody, right? I mean, you saw me do it, but how many people are going to do it? I don't care how much pepper spray you throw on my hat. I just throw it away. The hat's finished, So also, now we're talking about somebody that's coming to assault you. So you get them with a powerful flashlight. Okay. If you want to get them in the daytime with a powerful flashlight, you got to get up to about, more than 10,000 lumens. It's not the greatest. If you're on a beach on a sunny day, if you got 10,000 lumens. Hey, shut up! No! No! No!
No! Out of there.
The dog, she's trying to give support to Beulah, who's outside barking, and she sees through a glass door. Oh, I'll back her up, So all right. So, if you combine a knife with pepper spray and you spray the guy with pepper spray, then you knife him, they're going to throw you in jail for aggravated assault or homicide or murder or something, because once you pepper spray the guy, he's not a threat. So you pepper spray him, he's closing his eyes, he's turning away, you run away. Okay? Now let's say you have a cane and you pepper spray him and he's lost his vision.
People are not permitted to walk the dog on the street in front of the house.
and you take the cane and you whack him in the temple and crack his head open. Well, aggravated assault, homicide, murder, whatever the district attorney is going to categorize it, whatever he wants to go after you for, but you've got a real problem, okay? But if you give him pepper spray and you just run away or briskly walk away, screaming help, even, right? But when you're screaming help, he knows what direction you went in, so that's a little iffy, right? Or using your phone to get help or something like that. Nobody cares. The district attorney's not going to come after you. Okay. Combine it with a flashlight. Is it going to cause the district attorney to come after you worse? No. How many people go to jail for using a flashlight to defend themselves? See, but it's great. Now, if you really get a good one, like, at the nighttime, like you get something that's, even 4,000 lumens at night is going to be very blinding. The guy's going to lose vision for 7-10 seconds minimum, but he's going to be startled and he's not going to have good vision for maybe 20-30 seconds. You can be pretty far gone by then. Okay. And if he starts trying to come back, he's got to come back at you with his hand over his eyes or going like this or something, and he can't see where he's going. And then you just start going off on sides, different sides so you can't find. Does it work on dogs? Yeah, it'll take the dog's vision away. If the dog's being very aggressive, it'll take his vision away. Yeah, but you got to be careful. He might come at you anyway, because he's afraid you're going to get him. So he might come after you anyway using his sound, his ears, and his smell. So you got to change your position. Then it'll confuse him pretty good usually, and you want to get out of there, So, you could combine the two, the pepper spray and the flashlight, and then you're going to be in pretty good shape. Now, when you start adding a knife into it, you better make sure there's no more government anymore. And this guy is coming after you and he wants to really hurt you. He's a terrorist. He's an enemy soldier, something like that. Somebody's really trying to do you dirty, there you go. Now, if it's nighttime and you've got enemy soldiers bothering you and they got night vision and you hit them with 4,000 lumens of light, their night vision glasses are going to go black. They have sensors in there that'll just shut off because it'll fry the guy's eyes if they don't. So it'll just shut down. But guess what? Now he's got no night optics, till the thing resets and then you move away. What this stuff is really good for, pepper spray and the flashlight, is just to get the heck out of there. But if you could do it, if you were getting enemy soldiers, your government fell, and they're invading you, and they're coming at you, and you get them with a good flashlight in the eyes at night, they're going to lose your position because you're going to get the heck out of there. Okay? I wouldn't advise running up on them if you could get out of there, but if they're going to just regroup and find you again, and depending what kind of weapon you have, you can take them out, if you got a weapon to do that with. So, are they trained for this? Some cops are, okay, for pepper spray. What the kind of training, well, they'll put something up. They'll pull their coat up. If they got a coat, they might take their hat and pull it down. They'll turn away. They could go like this. And then if they get pepper sprayed, they train them to open up one eye and shoot. Force the eye open. And they get some type of an image, but not good. It's blurry and screwed up. They don't see clear, believe me. But they do train them to force the eye open. Okay. What about hitting them with a flashlight? Well, they don't really go for high-powered flashlights. None of the cops really do. Why? Because when they're using a flashlight, they're using it sometimes for 5 or 10 minutes. Okay? They're searching a car at night, the trunk, the back seat, the glove box, the floor, under the seats. It's on a while. Or they're walking around the house because they got a prowler call. So they're shining the light on the bushes and all over, everywhere, up on the roof, anywhere they can, so they don't, these powerful flashlights don't last that long because they're going to heat up and the thing is going to shut off if you're using it in powerful mode. So they'll buy a flashlight that's probably going to run 300 lumens, something like that, 500 maximum, maybe maximum. Uh, and that's going to give them a bright light that could stay on and they could see things at night and it'll have a long throw. They can see things, 30, 50 feet away and, stuff like that. That's what they're going to do. So they're familiar with not flashing the light in their partner's face, not getting it in their own face or someone else's face unless they want to. So sometimes with these low powered lights, they'll shine it in a person's face, like in a car in a traffic stop, because the cop's a jerk and likes doing it, and it takes the vision away, but not like it does with 2,000 lumens. It's just it doesn't blind them that much. It's annoying to them, and he might be trying to look for drug reaction, but he's probably just doing it because he likes bothering people, or she, um, you know. What if you shined it on a cop's eyes? What would they do? Well, they wouldn't like it. I don't know if they could. They could, of course, to charge you, they would charge you with assault, with some sort of weapon or something like that, or harassment or something like. They could charge you. Could they make it stick? Yeah, but the judge is going to ask you why you did it, undoubtedly, because it's unusual. And if you had a reasonable story, like, gosh, I was using it for this and that reason, and I made a mistake. I flashed it across his face. I was nervous when I was stopped, and it might just let you out of it altogether. I don't know, but you got no permanent damage. I mean, they're not going to send you to jail for a year or anything like that. I doubt they'd send you to jail. They'd probably give you probation, maybe a fine, or you'd have to pay the cost of probation or some stupid thing like that. They're not going to be that likely to put you in jail unless you were a criminal and you had drugs and you were trying to disable the cop and get away and stuff like that. So enough of that. Okay. So let me tell you what Trump's doing, and Trump's taking this direction from the powers of the air, the unclean spirits. And let me build that case for you right now. Right now. Why do I say that? Okay? And I'm going to give you the scriptures for that. Second Corinthians 4:4 out of the King James. In whom the God of this world hath blinded the minds of them which believe not, lest the light of the glorious gospel of Christ, who is the image of God, should shine unto them. Okay, well, it's a very informative scripture. This fits in with many are called, but few are chosen. Okay. See, the called are going to fall into false gospels and phony beliefs and bad doctrine and stuff like that. Okay. Remember, the scripture says, deceive the very elect if it were possible. You're not going to deceive the very elect. Maybe temporarily, but not permanently or long term. So, in whom the God of this world, so there's a God of this world. It actually says the word ion, A-I-O-N, which means age. For our purposes today, it works well. The God of this age, that's Satan. Okay? So he's got control of all the countries because it's in his age. This is his time. He's the God of this age. They were all reporting to him. All of them. Israel, everybody. Okay? Now, they don't teach that very often, but that's what the reality of this thing is. Okay? There's another verse. Let me find it. Oh, where did it go? I think it might be here. It's not. Let me find it. No, I might have to. Let me go. I don't remember which AI I searched the scripture for. Yeah, I use them. I put keywords in and tell them to find the scripture. But I think I know where it is. Mark 10:30, I think. Let's go there. Mark 10:30. Well, I got to go up 2 or 3 verses. And it's actually 29. I was off a verse. And Yeshua answered and said, Verily I say unto you, there is no man that hath left house or brethren or sister or father or mother or wife or children or lands for my sake and the gospels, okay? But he shall receive 100-fold now in this time, houses and brethren and sisters and brothers and children and lands with persecutions, and in the age to come, eternal, it's everlasting, olam, everlasting life. It wasn't exactly what I was looking for, was it? Okay, I'll find what I was looking for. I use this like a concordance. That's what I use it for. This is second. I think I did that already. Okay. No, I don't know if it's finding it in another. Yeah, I did. This is Ephesians 2, chapter 2, verse 2. The prince of the power of the air, those are the demons. The spirit that now worketh in the children of disobedience. Well, I guess I'm not getting all the scriptures to say he's the God of this word. But remember when he told you, Yeshua, he took him up to the high place and showed him the world and said, I'll give you this, I'll give you that. Just worship me. You know, Yeshua said, go fly a kite, basically. Okay. So Satan's running the country. So what is Satan doing? Running these world leaders? Well, let me explain what it is. There's an Israel 1948. There's an Israel. Now, how do I think this Israel started? Now, this is where some of you are going to not like me. Okay? But it's true. You could check everything I'm going to tell you out. In 1948, there was a weapons embargo placed on Israel by the United Nations and America. America, say, can you see? Placed a weapons embargo on Israel in 1948 to stop Israel from buying weapons. Now, the same embargo was placed on Russia, who ignored it. And Russia was giving weapons. Russia was not supposed to do this, give weapons to the Middle Eastern countries, but they did. They were giving them aircraft and other things to kill Israel. Okay? And Israel had to go to, I think it was Czechoslovakia, and buy leftover World War II weapons that were busted up and rehab them and use those. Remember, there was a ship of Jews escaping Hitler that went to America during World War II, and America sent it back to Hitler, and they wound up going to the concentration camps. A lot of ships were coming to what was called Palestina or Palestine back then, which was run by the British. And they not only turned ships away to come back, to go back and not bring Jews to Israel, they fired naval artillery pieces at these ships, blowing holes in the ships to force them to come back. They wouldn't let them land. Paul Newman made a movie depicting some of this, but he softened it. Paul Newman softened the reality of this, okay? He didn't get into the real depth of how evil it was in that movie. He peddled it softly, is what he did, okay? It got the point across, but not seriously enough, okay? Now, May 15th, 1948, Israel filed with the UN what? To be independent. Let me tell you what's wrong with this picture. There was nobody to be independent of, because the British, lock, stock, and barrel, down to the last gun, left Israel. They just left. They didn't want to bother with it anymore. Then they changed the name of the country from Palestine to Israel. Okay? And they declared independence. But who the heck they declared independence from? I have no idea. There was nobody to declare. Okay? While this was going on, and Israel was full of World War II concentration camp survivors and other displaced people from World War II. What were the nations doing? They were creating a fake Israel. Is that what God was doing? No. God was getting the Jews, the Israelites, back to their homeland. God never said, call it Israel. Never. That I know of. He calls the land today Judah and Jerusalem, because that's what we have. But anyway, they changed the name to Israel. They give them an arms embargo so Israel can't go out and get good weapons. Russia's running around giving the Arab states all the weapons they want, good weapons, decent weapons. And they changed the name to Israel. What are they trying to do? What do you think? It's pretty obvious. They were trying to complete the final solution that Hitler started. So they collected the Jews in Israel, armed the Arabs, told the Jews they couldn't get weapons, and were just waiting for the Arabs to extinguish the Jews, and that was the end of the problem. There were Jews living there that came after the Balfour Declaration in 1917. Hitler never made it into Israel area. Hitler went to see the Wafi or whatever, the Muslim leader of Jerusalem. And there's pictures of him meeting with this guy. And Hitler said he's going to get rid of the Jews from Germany and he wants to send them to Israel. Well, this Palestine. And the Muslim leader said, Hitler said he's just sending them out of Germany. The Muslim leader told Hitler, don't do that, they'll just come here. So Hitler said to the Muslim leader, what do you want me to do with them? The Muslim leader said, burn them. That's what Hitler did. So, they never planned the nations on having a Hitler, a Israel around today. They thought the Arab states would wipe them out. Okay? It didn't work. They never won. So then America and the UN took a position of stopping Israel from ever having a real victory. Okay. Now, in the early wars, Israel conquered land. Israel got the Sinai Peninsula from Egypt. Israel actually had oil wells for gasoline. They couldn't stand that. The nations hated that. So you had Anwar Sadat, you had, I think, was it Jimmy Carter? And he came up with some crackpot peace treaty. And if you look on the internet, Anwar Sadat came to that signing of the peace treaty wearing a tie that had swastikas on it. It's on the internet and Google. Anwar Sadat swastika tie, look it up. Nazi tie, look it up. All right, so that peace deal got Anwar Sadat assassinated. And Israel had to give back the oil and the land. And today, Egypt is breaking that ceasefire for some months now, maybe a year even, and it has the place full of tanks with bunkers and artillery and everything else, over 100,000 soldiers. And Netanyahu doesn't, what they tell us here in Israel is, well, they're there to stop the people from Gaza flowing in to Egypt. Well, that might take, 5 or 10,000 soldiers, not 100,000. They criticize Israel for attacking the people in Gaza and Hamas, but they'll never let them come live in their country. Because the role of those people in Satan's scheme is to constantly harass Israel. So we got the West Bank, what they call Samaria and Judea. And they're always trying to get us to give that back. We got part of the Golan Heights back recently from Syria, and they're trying to get us to give that back. It's not going anywhere. And now we're moving into Lebanon, but not on a permanent basis as far as they're concerned. And we had Gaza, and they made us give it back. It was 2008, I think. They made us give it back. Netanyahu was involved in that. So they changed their approach. They stopped having all the Arab states attack Israel because they couldn't win. So now they got these, he switched his gears. Satan switched his approach to massive missile barrages from the countries next door. So because I keep telling you we're in recompenses, the Lord told me that in August 10, 2023. So how did Hamas and Gaza do? Well, Gaza's a wreck, a garbage dump. It's all busted up. Probably 70-80% of the buildings are destroyed. The sidewalks, the roads, the traffic lights, the water, the sewer, well, it's all destroyed. Okay? It's all busted up. All right? And a lot of them are dead. And they can't fight back, and that's it. But Netanyahu won't get rid of them. Why? Well, biblically, it's not tied to that. We're not in the days where we get the land back. That's redemption. We're in recompenses, which is when the Lord pays back the evil that the nations have done to Israel. He pays them back for it. And that's what's going on. So they lost. Lebanon, we had a war with them some months ago. Remember the pager thing where a lot of thousands of them got hurt? That's going on. They got killed. Their leaders are getting killed. They're busted up. We're still attacking them. Syria was a big thorn in our side for years. What happened? Bashar Assad, the kid of the original dictator, ran away to Russia. So what did the nations do? Tell Israel to move in. It's your land. King David used to reign from here. You moved back in? Oh, no. Satan would kill them. Satan can't really kill them. He could have people kill them. Satan's not throwing lightning bolts at anybody. That doesn't happen. He could get people to do it. Okay, so what happens then is Trump, who's part of the nations, finds a guy. There's a guy there that used to be in ISIS and Al Qaeda, a murdering terrorist. He gets a haircut, puts a suit on, and they make him the leader of this new Syria. Israel gets scared and moves soldiers in for some miles, approaching Damascus, actually, but not at Damascus. And we're protecting the Druze, of all things, from the massacre from this guy. So they put another murderer of Jews into Syria. What about Iraq? Well, that's another murderer of Jews over there. What about Saudi Arabia? Well, apparently they hate our guts and don't want to have much to do with us unless Trump actually twists their arm and forces them. Okay, you got Egypt waiting on our border. Okay, you got Iraq. They were shooting missiles and rockets at us, some months ago, a year and a half ago, probably. And you've got Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, and Oman that don't have any use for us at all. And look how they're doing. Kuwait has declared force majeure, it can't deliver its oil. Qatar did force majeure on their, I think their LNG, they can't deliver, probably their oil. They're out of action. They got busted up so bad, they can't really deliver. The UAE got busted up. Oman, not that much. Iran seems to like Oman. Saudi got busted up. It's not over yet. So how good is Iran doing? Iran hates us. They supported with money and weapons and training and all that. The Hamas, which is defunct, they're in Gaza. Hezbollah in Lebanon, which is still kicking, but not for long. They never supported. They supported the old Syria. He was their boy, but the new Syria doesn't get along with them. And then you had Iraq, and Iran still has a lot of influence in Iraq. Jordan, Iran doesn't have a lot of influence in, but they got about 10 or 11 million haters that are lined up pretty much with Iran that would love to storm into Israel. And now we got Somalia, which is located in Greater Israel. And they're saying that no Israeli ship can pass by them in the Red Sea area. But I think that's just rhetoric. I don't think they can do much about it unless China or Russia or Iran are giving them weapons, and you never know, that could be the case. Then they could probably do something about it. But they would need more than just weapons. They would need radar as well. But they may have given them radar, and I don't know about it, or we don't, or Trump admitted they interdicted a shipment of something from China to Iran that was bad, but Trump wouldn't reveal what it is. He says it was top secret. So what Satan's trying to do now is he can't get rid of Israel. He tried again with Hamas. He tried again with Syria helping Hamas. He had the Houthis helping Hamas. He had Hezbollah helping Hamas. He even threw Iran at us, and he couldn't do it. So he decided to just keep our enemies in these various countries surrounding us alive, not exterminate them or run them out of their countries. And the wars have worn Israel down. They're expensive for us. I don't know how many people left Israel. People are telling me about 500,000 have moved out of Israel that were living here. Most Israelis don't have a place to go, but a lot of them moved out of here. And they may not come back. They've been gone for a few years now. And Aliyah, Netanyahu has done a fantastic job. He really excels. He's just great at it, of stopping Jewish people from moving to Israel. He's a master at that. They don't come. And a lot of the ones that come turn around and leave pretty quickly. Yep. They go back. It used to be that we would help the new immigrants, help them get working, help them settle in. Now it's adversarial. They don't want them here. Netanyahu's brainwashed them. There's tremendous discrimination about this. Netanyahu is a curse on Israel, guys. He keeps the wars going because he's got his 3 criminal cases over his head. And if there are no more wars, he can't tell the court, hey, I can't come to court and go to work on my trial. I got to fight the war. There's no war. He has to go to court, and then he's going to probably lose 2 of the 3 cases and wind up in jail. I personally have the opinion he'd destroy Israel before he let that happen. But they won't let him destroy Israel. So it's a real mess with him. So they want a fake Israel. They want an Israel that doesn't serve God. They want an Israel that doesn't have a temple. They want an Israel that doesn't do anything with the New Testament. They're being taught that if you put a New Testament in your house, you bring a curse on your house. Okay? They're not even taught the Old Testament. Seriously, the rabbis follow a book that their ancestors wrote called the Talmud. It's a series of books called the Talmud, and it contradicts the Bible heavily. They teach them that Yeshua was not a prophet, was not the Son of God, was a bastard, okay, wasn't fathered by the Holy Spirit, was a bastard, and, stuff like this, okay? That's the Talmud, okay? And they believe the Talmud trumps the Bible. They believe that, they think that what they're taught is Moses wrote the written law, that's the one in the first 5 books of the Bible, for the heathen, to confuse them and bewilder them, perhaps so they'd never learn how to follow the law. And then Moses had an oral law that the people followed, which is none of this is true. And the oral law was written down by them into a series that's about 10 big books called the Talmud. I tried reading it once a few decades ago. It's so doesn't make any sense. It's hard reading, and you don't even know why you're reading it. I mean, it's really unbelievable, and it contradicts the Bible all over. Like kill your enemy before he kills you, stuff like this. Uh, they, and then you got the Kabbalah, which is a whole other witchcrafty thing. So it's really all screwed up. And they teach the way they get taught, the rabbis teach them, is they call the Talmud Torah and they call the Kabbalah Torah. And the people don't know their left hand from the right hand, basically. Now, God said he will bind up their eyes and, close their ears, lest they turn to the gospel and be healed. And then they don't get their punishment of the 2,000 years in Hosea 6:1-2, which says 2 days, and Peter says 1,000 years is like a day unto the Lord. Well, we know that the punishment on Israel wasn't 48 hours, so, okay. So the punishment is really not in place, but it is. It's different because you're in recompenses. But the yoke doesn't come off our neck. We don't get our land back. We don't get free, and the people's eyes and ears don't open until Yeshua appears in the clouds, and that's redemption. And that's when that happens, and that's when the next Exodus happens, and that's when it all shifts, okay? And we're so close because it's in Zechariah 12, which I know the churches don't teach. And you also should be reading Malachi 3 and 4. Malachi comes right after Zechariah, by the way. It's a siege on Israel. Well, a siege is not an invasion. Is Hezbollah doing a siege on us? Yeah. Is Egypt? Yeah, but it's quiet. They're not shooting. Is Saudi Arabia? Well, they don't really touch our border, but they're close. But we're not allowed to go to Saudi Arabia. You can't walk in with an Israeli passport. I don't believe they recognize Israel, and you wouldn't get in. Syria? Can we go to Syria? No. Jordan? Could we go to Jordan? Yes. But parts of Jordan are going to make it Ammon, northern Jordan, and that's the part I think we're basically going to up here, but not as bad as it's going to be. Okay. So the surrounding countries are going to get burned up by the 2 witnesses, and Zechariah 12:6, you see the two witnesses burning the enemies up in the siege. And who do you know has fire coming out of their mouth? But the two witnesses, they don't teach this, but it's there. How could it not be the two witnesses? I'll read it to you. I'll just read you Zechariah 12:6, and it's so obvious. In that day, that's the day of vengeance. In between recompenses and redemption comes a day called the day of vengeance. In that day will I make the governors, it's the judges really, the judges of Judah, like an earth of fire among the wood, and like a torch of fire in a sheaf, and they shall devour, it really means burn up, and they shall burn up all the people round about on the right hand and on the left, and Jerusalem shall remain, occupied still in its own place. They got this interpretation not right on that. They did a Schofield type interpretation. Okay, so, but I check it in the Hebrew, and that's what it is. So anyway, we're there. I mean, we're just, there's people in Jordan that want to swarm into Israel. We're just about there. It's at the doors, and he says it 2 times with the burning up, because there's 2 witnesses. He puts it in there twice, and they're the ones that's going to be the rulers of Israel. You want to know why I said that, right? Okay. Isaiah 1. Isaiah 1. Whoops, now I need to figure out what verse it is, don't I? Let's try 23. Nope, I got a miss. Let me get the right verse. Where is it? Let me find that verse instead of reading the whole chapter. I missed it by 1. It's 24. It's Isaiah 24. Okay, let me read it. Therefore saith Jehovah. No, saith Adonai Jehovah, of hosts, of armies. Hosts is armies. The mighty one of Israel. And I will ease me of my adversaries and avenge me of my enemies. That's recompenses, okay? And it culminates in the day of vengeance. We're not at the day of vengeance yet, but I imagine it's close. And I will turn my hand upon thee. That's a good thing. The Zechariah 12 is Jacob's trouble, by the way, and purely purge away
thy dross and take away all thy tin. In other words, he's going to be cleaning Israel up, getting the falsehoods out, getting them off the Talmud into the real Bible, and knowing who the Messiah is, and walking correctly in the Lord and all that. Okay. And I will restore thy judges as at the first. Now, who was at the first, the judges? Well, they were Moses and Aaron. Okay? And they were prophets and judges. And the two witnesses, it says they're prophets in Revelation 11. And they're the only prophets we have. So they're going to be the judges. Judges are prophets, typically. And thy counselors as at the beginning. Well, those were Moses and Aaron with the 70. And the two witnesses will have that too. In the beginning, as in the beginning, afterward thou shalt be called the city of righteousness, the faithful city. Zion shall be redeemed when, in the year of redemption, with judgment and her converts with righteousness. Okay, so you see that, okay, and that's not being taught, of course. What they're all teaching is, most of them are teaching, Ezekiel 38, 39 is now or soon to come. That's not. It says in Ezekiel 38, 39 that Israel's living without bars and walls and peace and safety. You got to be nuts to believe that, period. And about a third of Israel lives at the poverty line. And they're saying that, the enemy's going to come to take a great spoil, cattle and gold and silver. And, come on, what are you talking about here? None of that's going on. Okay. So what Satan's trying to do is hold to the fake Israel. An Israel that's never going to be the head of the nations because they're rejecting Yeshua. They're rejecting the New Testament. They're not following the Old Testament. They're following an extra biblical book. And they're, doing things to keep themselves in sin. And he's comfortable about that, but he wants to keep all the nations surrounding us, our enemies, alive and functioning, and doesn't ever want to let us have a victory, and we can't take any of the land back and this and that. But it's changing, okay? So that's what Satan's trying to do. He's trying to get the people to leave Israel with some success, I might add, and he's stopping the people from coming to Israel. They made a big deal yesterday about 250 Jews that study just the Old Testament coming here from India. And 250, where I think 1990 and 91, 1 million Russians came. And they're touting the drum over 250 people. That's our Netanyahu in action. Okay? All right, so let's get into, let me look at the live stream and see if we got questions or things I need to deal with. They got this mini type in there. I got to try to figure out how to get this. I'm looking at probably 5-point type or something like that. It's 4 points tiny. So I need a magnifier to read this junk. I don't know how that happened. Thank you for all of these greetings I get. Thank you. Someone said the Grok servers have been overloaded. I can believe that too. Who Bibi? Bibi is Netanyahu. Benjamin is his name, Benjamin, and Bibi is some abbreviation of Benjamin. Somebody sent me a verbal message on WhatsApp, and I know it's there. I haven't gotten to read it. I'm going to read it after the broadcast, and I'll respond to you if I want. If you want to get my attention better, you should send me an email. That I check all the time. WhatsApp is something I don't like. I just put up with. I use it. It's useful to talk to people around the world for free, but I'm far from like it. Okay, looks like I'm good. I don't have anything to deal with. All right, let's move on. So let's see what Trump is doing and try to integrate it into what Satan is doing. Without much trouble, we'll do that. We got a prayer request, just one. And where did it go? I'll find it. Here it is. I've already prayed, so I'll ask you guys to pray for NE, Normandy Echo, NE, Normandy Echo, NE. Pray for this person to have the ringing in the ears stop. NE, Normandy Echo. Pray that the ringing in the ears stops or heals up, however you want to refer to it. Okay. So Trump extended the Lebanon ceasefire for 3 weeks. He didn't want us destroying Hezbollah, you see. If we destroyed Hezbollah, then we'd have no more enemy on our north to be in the siege against us. It wouldn't fit prophecy. So that's the way that's working out. But Trump did say that Israel can still attack Hezbollah, but to calm Lebanon down, said that they would be very careful, in other words, not hurting Lebanon and the people of Lebanon, and they would make them surgical strikes. Then he's saying that Iran has to stop funding Hezbollah. Yeah, well, what are you going to do about that, Trump? Talk or probably nothing. Because he's not going to get rid of them like he didn't get rid of Hamas. Because that Satan wants them there to bother us another day. It makes the Israelis leave and it stops new ones from coming in. Someone asked me if you could come as a tourist to Israel these days. And the real answer is yes. And you were always able to come through the whole war. The only problem is some of the airlines stopped. There was some periods of time where you couldn't get a flight in, for weeks actually, but that's over with. The Trump is trying a new approach with Iran, okay? He's trying to take them out economically. Do I think this is a good idea? It is. That's what the barricade or the blockade is all about. Iran has no ships going in and no ships going out. Okay? Nothing. Okay? And has the U.S. military managed to achieve that already? The answer is yes. And they managed to do it. And are they going to continue to do it? Yes. Can they continue doing this for a long time? Oh, months. Yeah. We're at about 20, roughly maybe 25% of the world's oil stopped because the straits are closed. And Kuwait and the other countries are not able to produce much oil right now because they suffered a lot of damage from Iran missiles. Okay, so your oil prices are high, and that's maybe not so sad to Trump because he's selling a lot more oil. I'll be back in a minute. All right, so excuse me. Yes. Moshe. Okay. Yes, Anglit. Okay. Where are you now? No, you go up the street and you go to the key car. You go around the key car You go around the Kikar 3 streets, and Hashaket is on your right. Okay. Turning left, oh yeah, to go up. Yeah. What do you mean? Go from the big road? Yeah, from the big road, you go left up the hill. Yeah. Uh-huh. And then you go around the Kikar and you turn right. Or if you go to the first entrance close to the hospital, you go up and then you turn right. Yeah. Yeah. Where are you now? Are you here in the? All right. I'll come out. I'll come out now. Thank you. Okay. Bye. Bye. Guys, I got a delivery coming. I got to go out. I'll be back in a minute. This is Life in Israel. I'm sorry. Take a quick break. I don't know. It's unavoidable. Israel's not America. Okay, guys. Sorry about that. Life in Israel is not like life in Europe or America. Okay. So, what's the 3-week ceasefire going on with Lebanon? Well, it's giving Hezbollah a chance to recover. Israel doesn't need 3 weeks to recover. Lebanon needs 3 weeks. The Hezbollah. That's what's going on. We're in the process of wiping them out. That's the Henry Kissinger doctrine. Never let the Arab countries win a war. Never let Israel win a war. That keeps the status quo. The difference here is basically that Iran's going down. See, Lebanon doesn't like Israel. You have to understand that. And they let Hezbollah go in there and create wars against Israel using Lebanon as a human shield. Hezbollah doesn't get to win, nor does Israel. So, it's stupid again. These are the very same type of things that Obama did, Joe Biden did, same thing. And he didn't even make a peace deal with Hezbollah. He made it with Lebanon. And if there becomes a war between Lebanon and Hezbollah, Hezbollah is going to take Lebanon over. Now, I don't believe Satan, I'm not sure that's what his plan is. Because then there's going to be no stopping Israel and we'll be living in Lebanon, which is the way this ends. But we're not going to be living in Lebanon and taking land back until we hit redemption. The nations are suffering now under recompenses, and it's sort of a warning to them. But since the true gospel is barely ever preached in the world today, they don't know. So, Trump says he'll disarm Hezbollah. Nonsense. He never disarmed Hamas. Lebanon can't disarm Hezbollah. They don't want to, they won't, and they can't if they try. Hezbollah is talking about taking over Lebanon. If they want to do that, they will. 60% of the Lebanese army is Shiite Muslims that will side with Hezbollah. Then the people will really be sorry. What Trump wants to do is a problem. Trump wants the oil from Iran. He's pretty far away from ever getting his hands on that oil. Okay? He tried knocking out the missile launch underground facilities and the mobile missile launches, and he failed miserably. Along with Israel, none of us were able to do it. They fortified themselves to get. So it didn't work. Trump goes back and they brainstorm everything with the Pentagon, and they figure that the blockade will work. Do I think Trump's onto something? Yes. Can Iran do much of anything to stop Trump's blockade? Not really. They could try to hit the destroyers with missiles, but they don't have the right missiles. They have surface to surface. They got missiles that launch from a stationary target to another from a stationary platform to a stationary target. They don't have missiles that are designed to hit a moving target. So they could try to hit them with drones and steer the drones mid-flight, right? And they can try to hit them with the go-fast boats, of which they got they probably have it in the 2000s, range. They could have 2,400, maybe they got 1,800, maybe they got 2,900. They got a load of them. They keep them in small groups in caves where the water, goes into a cave. You've seen that on TV and stuff, and they keep them in there. The Nazis used to keep their U-boats in places like that during World War II. When they wanted to give the crew rest, take on supplies, make repairs, they'd go in there. Then when they go out, they leave above the surface, and they probably go out for 3 or 4 minutes, maybe, to get into deeper water away from the shore, maybe 5 minutes, and then dive. What are the odds of somebody seeing them for the first 5 minutes? Or they could have actually gone out for the first hour. And if you saw them and they were a quarter of a mile away from the cave, how the heck would you know where the cave was? Could you fire a torpedo into the cave and hit the submarine? Yeah, but not if they had a submarine net up there at the entrance of the cave to catch the torpedo. Then the torpedo would just explode at the entrance under the water and do precious little damage, except get people wet, maybe. Not even that. It would damage the submarine net pretty good, probably. Maybe not. So Trump said for self-defense, we're allowed to strike Hezbollah, but it'll be surgical strikes, and we can still keep our boots on the ground in southern Lebanon, dismantling various things that belong to Hezbollah. Trump ordered the U.S. military to shoot and kill the Iranian go-fast boats that are laying more and more mines. They're continuing to lay mines. So what they've done is Trump was just blocking maritime traffic coming and going from Iran. Just Iran. The other countries, the idea is to let them ship oil and receive goods like food and medical and all that. So Iran is laying mines to stop the other countries from being able to send ships out or receive goods by ship. And they're also attacking ships with guns. And they stole 2 ships and took them into Iranian waters. So is Trump's blockade working in terms of stopping Iran from sending ships in and out? Yes, it is. Is Iran's blockade and mine-laying operation working on deterring other ships to go in and out? To a good extent, it is. They're afraid. How does it end? It probably ends with Trump getting some sort of a good control on that. I'm pretty sure. Oh, if you want to try a good AI, try Perplexity. Perplexity. The paid version, I think it's $10. That's a very interesting experience. Include for shopping, it's incredible. It's so good. I mean, it's just quite a good AI. The other one you might want to look at is called Claude. What you have to do is learn how to use AI like a good tool to help you make chores and tasks, things you got to do, chores and tasks, make them easier and quicker. So Trump went off of his 3 to 5 day window with Iran that he was on yesterday. So the Iran thing is up Sunday. Now Trump is saying there's no time limit on Iran. He has decided that his best chance is to bust them out economically. If he busts them out economically, the regime collapses. Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Houthis get no money, no weapon. And Trump sees his way clear to getting the oil somehow. His idea is to put Exxon and Chevron in charge. And then I think his idea is to put the Shah's kid back in. Well, not back in, just put him in. And then the Shah will say, well, we don't know what we're doing with the oil. You take care of it for us. And Donald says, oh, I'll be happy to help you. Okay. Is Iran going to get busted out? I don't know. Probably, if it keeps up. Can Iran do things to stop it? Well, right now, I think Iran is in the mode where they don't want to start launching missiles. They want to refortify their missile cities. They want to repair them. They're moving a lot of missiles and missile launchers around into new places, but Trump told them publicly, hey, sucker, I know every place you're going. I'm watching you day and night. The air defenses went on in Iran, and I think somebody sent surveillance drones over there. Could be Israel, could be America. They picked it up and they went on. Also, we hear periodically, like yesterday, explosions in Iran. That could be the resistance forces. I don't know. The U.S. military seized an Iranian oil tanker called the Majestic X yesterday. They're not going to like that. Trump is telling them to attack those go-fast boats. Basically, if you see them, attack them. That's basically what he's saying. There sure are a lot of them, though. There were floods in Yemen that killed 31,000 people yesterday. That's the land of the Houthis, another terrorist state. Mall of Louisiana yesterday, 1 dead and 6 injured, and several in custody about a shooting. It looks like maybe it was a gang fight. I don't know. The police are looking for others that were involved in the shooting at the Baton Rouge Mall. That does not appear to be terrorism whatsoever. It's something else. Criminality. Hezbollah fired a rocket salvo at northern Israel shortly before the ceasefire was extended. They were intercepted. That's just Hezbollah, showing off. We could do whatever we want, Well, you can as long as you got American presidents that want to follow the Kissinger doctrine. So Satan's trying to freeze the geography, the land that Israel has now, and slowly but surely get the people of Israel to move out. That's what he's trying to do. A reporter talking to Trump said it's a crime in Israel for them, the Lebanese, to speak with Israel. I believe that means negotiate peace deals or something. Trump said, how is it a crime? The reporter says it's a crime according to the Lebanese law. Trump said, we have to end that. We will end that. This is really, you got to listen to this one. Of all the stuff we heard, this one is not as good as the pager explosions, but it's pretty good. An unidentified person poisoned the food of the local Basij. Those are a militia of predominantly volunteers that brutalize the resisting protesters in Israel. The Basij forces food. More than 100 of the Basij fighters were poisoned and hospitalized. Wow. This doesn't sound like anything Israel or the United States did. This sounds completely like something that would have been done by the protesters, not by America or Israel. I just don't think they would do this. Actually, one of them died. Now, the poison depends how long the poison takes. Some poisons could take 3, 4, 5 days. Others could take hours. It's just, I don't know what happened. Trump talking, I have all the time in the world regarding Iran. Don't believe the New York Times and CNN. He's right. He's saying, in his mind, I don't think he's right, biblically and so forth, but in his mind, he could just take his sweet time and just bleed Iran into poverty. It appears they don't know how to get rid of his blockade. Iran is probably working overtime trying to figure out a way to get rid of that blockade. I don't know. Missiles, if they could hit the ships with missiles and they sink probably 2 ships of Trump's, that would be the end of the blockade, I think. But then Trump will just revert to bombing them. The bombing wasn't so successful because they're hunkered down in fortified places so good that it doesn't seem that that's what Trump's going after. It seems he's going after just busting them out economically now. You don't have to waste a lot of munition and stuff like that. Let's see how he does. They've isolated 2 groups of people there, the IRGC and the politicians. And we're told, but I don't know how true it is, the politicians are placed under house arrest. I don't know if that's real yet. We'll have to see what happens. All right, let's talk about what the heck does America have regarding the military in the Middle East. And I got a pretty good breakdown for you. Okay, as of today, there's about 45,000 to 50,000 U.S. military personnel deployed in the Middle East called Operation Epic Fury. The Navy has their Ring of Steel, which is the, what they're doing with the blockade. Now, their 3 aircraft carriers are almost here. They're still waiting for the Ford and the Bush to show up, but I think they could be in place by Sunday. Maybe they already are. The Bush might be there already. I don't know. It could be. So what we do have is we've got the Tripoli there, the amphibious assault, small aircraft carrier kind of thing, and the USS Boxer is going to be there very soon. And the Iwo Jima is plotting over here. So they'll be carrying Expedition Force Marines. So they're going to have 3 of these. Now, these amphibious things, let me explain what goes on. You got a max of about 2,500 Expeditionary Force Marines per one of these. So if you're going to have 3 here, you could have 7,500 of these guys. That's a significant force. They come with 3 ships each. So if you got 3 of these groups here, you're going to have 9 ships. One of the ships they come with, of which there'll be 3 of these, is a small aircraft carrier. It can launch perhaps a dozen vertical takeoff F-35s, which once it gets in the air is a real full stealth F-35, you know. And in addition, they can launch some kind of vertical takeoff planes, and they usually carry a nice assortment of helicopters. They could have, I don't know, another 12 or maybe 15 or something like that, to shuttle the troops. And then, you know, when you get into what the other boats are carrying, they've got a lot of stuff. They got tanks, they got mobile artillery, they got artillery, they got boats that can be used to, you know, they come out of the big boat, they drop an opening in the front, and the small boats can go out and shuttle the guys to shore. They got all kinds of stuff, man. These things are powerful. Now, Trump is not trying to land and occupy Iran. He would need, I'm telling you, 500,000 soldiers would be small for that. The classical number would be 3 million. But because they're so busted up and there's so much air support, maybe he could get away with 500,000, maybe. But, you know, when you're talking, 7,500 soldiers, forget about it. Trump's after something else. Maybe you could protect the oil refineries and the oil wells with that, and the pipeline and critical points. Yes, you could. Okay. So you got the Tripoli, you got the Boxer, and you got the Iwo Jima coming. So, I mean, you got to understand, he's going to pick up about 36 F-35s. Okay, he's probably going to have about 250 on the other 3 aircraft carriers. Add in this, round it up to 300 fighter jets. Israel's got about 350, and Trump's got to have 100 in the area, I'd say. So you got, you've got a huge amount of planes, but these stinking missile cities are so resilient. These ships are going to be hanging out where the Abraham Lincoln is and the Tripoli, which is around the Sea of Oman in the Indian Ocean. They call it the Gulf of Oman, Indian Ocean area, out of the range of Iran. They don't want Iran hitting them. U.S. troops are currently positioned in a crescent around Iran's borders. Now, what are they trying to do? Get ready to swarm in, stop Iran from getting out? I don't know. Probably to continue the siege. Trump's got F-22s parked. The Raptors in Ovda Air Base. Where the heck is that? Israel. And he has specialized missile defense teams. Hold on a minute. This is down in the Negev, but I think we got a spelling difference. Not much, though. Okay, yeah, it's down by a lot. And I imagine we've got it protected with, iron beams and other missiles to make sure that nothing happens to those F-22s. But it's curious that Trump parked them here. It's the safest place to put them. Now we got special forces here. You've heard rumors of that. Delta Force, Navy SEALs, Army Rangers, Recon Marines. I don't know if Expedition Forces or Special Forces. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. I think the Special Forces are the ones that are boarding, and seizing these ships. That's normally a Special Forces job. The Coast Guard does it, but not when you're dealing with Iran in those waters. You've got to be pretty careful, I guess. This is the first time Israel is basing assets inside Israel. other than the F-22s, there's other stuff here. Jordan has a base they're using called the, well, this is a winner of a word here. Mufwafik. Oh, that's a normal word for us, huh? Yeah, I'd like to order the Mufwafik special today, you know. Okay, Mufwafik Salti, Saltia Air Base. It's a major hub for F-35. I'm sorry, for F-15E Strike Eagles that have been conducting the bulk of the airstrikes. Okay, in Iran. Saudi Arabia, U.S. troops are at the Prince Sultan Air Base. They're currently working with Ukrainian trainers to deploy advanced sky map counter drone technology after recent Iranian drones swarms were hitting Saudi Arabia. So this is another technology that Zelensky, Ukraine, is sharing. I don't know what it does. It probably jams or screws up the drones so they fall out of the sky or something. Serious. Kuwait and the UAE, these serve as the primary logistic hubs and the hosting for the 82nd Airborne Division. I don't think there's that many 82nd. It's about 3,000. The Navy SEALs and the Army Rangers are actually conducting missions in the Middle East for some time already. They enforce sanctions like boarding ships and stuff like that. They identify specific Iranian missile launch sites for the carrier-based jets. So approximately 20,000 personnel are currently stationed stationed on the USS Abraham Lincoln, USS Gerald Ford, and the USS George W. Bush, or H.W. Bush, primarily operating in the Arabian Sea and the Gulf of Oman. That would be with their task force, their extra 2 ships per boat. So I'm not sure if the Gerald Ford is in theory yet. It's probably chugging along. Maybe it is. But I think everybody should be there by Sunday at the latest, I think. Then you got Marine Expeditionary Units. About 8,000 Marines are stationed on the amphibious ships. The 3 I talked about, you know. The 82nd Airborne, you got about 3,000 of those, and they're positioned in Kuwait and Jordan as a rapid response force. You have an estimated 10,000 personnel that are operating out of bases in Israel, Jordan, Qatar, and the UAE to maintain air superiority and the blockade. So they're maintaining gassing, fueling, loading weapons, etc., for the fighting aircraft. Trump's really voted for bear out here, I'll tell you right now. So the total estimated forces come up to about 50,000 personnel. 50,000. And that's what I would say Trump's voted for bear, but he's not voted for an invasion, an occupation. This is nothing. If you're going to do an invasion, this is just nothing. Okay, this is minuscule. It's nowhere near enough to get dangerous. Okay, for an occupation, and it's maybe a tenth for a minimal dangerous occupation. So Trump will go back to bombing them if he can't make it work with the blockade. What would that mean? What am I saying? Well, if Iran manages to attack the American destroyers doing the blockade and sink them and burn them and all that, well, then Trump will cut it out. He'll go back to bombing. The Iranians might have to throw the towel in. The blockade is not just costing Iran money because of ships. There's no aircraft flying in and out of Iran, okay? Well, let's verify that. Okay, let me get a reading on that to make sure I know what I'm talking about, okay? At the current time, are there any aircraft flying in and out of Iran? I don't think they got any airports running. No, actually there are some. They're in a state of limited phased reopening. What does that mean? Following the conflict that began. In the east of Iran, it's partially reopened for overflight traffic. That's allowing planes having an altitude of like 28,000 feet to fly over. Let me keep reading. The western area is largely closed or restricted. Let me try to get a more specific answer. I need a more specific answer. Are cargo and passenger flights coming in and out of Iran daily? If so, how many? They started April 20th with flights again. Most of what's going on are domestic flights from Iran to Iran. Flights inside the country of Iran. The volume of flights is very low. On average, only a handful of international passenger flights are operating daily, primarily through Moshe, the first international hub to reopen, and Tehran Airport. This is a mistake. Trump never should let the flights open up because they're going to somehow get weapons or weapon-making materials. It's stupid what he did. Should it keep attacking the airports? Maybe he wants to have it so they could get some medical and food in there for humanitarian purposes. I don't know. You certainly can't get oil and natural gas by air. They don't do that. You can't do that, You can't build an airplane the size of an aircraft carrier that holds that much oil. You'd have to put 35 engines on the thing. I don't think you could do it. It would probably, by the time it got to China, it would have used up all the. No, you can't do it. You can't make it work. But he is cutting the bulk of the food. See, guys, it's very expensive to fly food in on airplanes. Much of the food, or most of the food, is going to move on ships. But there are no ships. So if they want to move food, they're going to have to move it by air. And that's going to be very expensive food. So again, the elite don't care. They are losing money, that's for sure. And if you cost them enough money, they're going to be out of business. So, how much time? Well, I think you're probably looking at 2 weeks from today to get some significant result. But I think Iran is building and rebuilding their missile cities, basically refortifying them. And I think they're going to get ready to do something. I don't know what. Hit Europe. Maybe they're building missiles now that could hit deeper into Europe and like 1,600-mile missile in terms of range. And they might want to manufacture 20 or 30 of them, or 50, I don't know, and then start firing. So we're going to watch and see what happens. Iran's definitely going to make a move. Their moves are the smartest move with the most degree of success that I could think of is to hit Europe with missiles or to fire missiles into America from boats. That will bring and remember, the Iranians said that they sort of promised actually that the war will be global. So they have a very high probability in their minds of bringing the war to an end by hitting Europe, because the people in Europe are going to be cowardly and go, oh, no, we'll give you what you want. And if he hits America, if they hit America from ships, it'll cause Trump to start bombing them again. And he'll get mad as all get up. And the Americans will cry for blood. So let's see what happens. Trump has yet to stop the Iranians from stopping ships going to these other countries. If they can successfully stop that, they're also figuring they could bring Trump to his knees. Let's take a look at the prices of oil. I didn't check. I checked actually briefly. They were back up at about $100. Let's take a look. Oil price.com. Oh, it's creeping up steady now. Not that big, but not so great either. 97.20 on American WTI and 106 on the Brent Europe. So it's creeping up. It's creeping up. Let's take a look at our gold and silver. $46.90 on gold, down a little. Silver 74.68, down a little. They're suppressing the silver and the gold now. They got more free time. They're going after that. The rats. So what's like it? Well, we got one of our packages with the herbs yesterday, just in time. My wife was, thanks for the prayers on that, by the way. My wife was running out of one of the ingredients, and it came yesterday afternoon, just as she ran out the day before or yesterday. So it was right in the nick of time. And that was convenient. And we got another package coming from them. I don't know where the heck it is. And there's some other stuff floating around. We got also, we'll see how we do with it. I think that the airlines, the way things are going now, they're going to keep opening it. It'll be more and more flights coming through. If you wanted to come here, like I repeat this, you can. You just got to get a flight. But I don't think the flights right now are very expensive. So you just grab a flight and you come here. If you're coming from Europe, you got to take a look at maybe connecting flights, like going from France to Romania or Poland or Czechoslovakia, where the flights are dirt cheap. So you fly from France to Poland or Czechoslovakia or Romania, and then from there fly into Israel, or you could go indirect. You got to compare it. America, if you don't mind taking a long time to travel, you could do that. You could fly from America to, say France or UK or Spain or Portugal, and then from there take a flight over to Poland or Romania or something, and then from there come into Israel. But with the waiting, I mean, you're probably looking at a 30-hour trip. That's hard. And then you'll be lucky if you shake the jet lag. If it takes you that long, and well, it actually breaks the jet lag up, I should say, because if you go from California to Israel almost direct, you will be wiped out a good 4 days. I mean, you have no idea how bad you get wiped out from jet lag because it's such a large jet. It could be 10 hours. It's either 9 or 10 hours, depending on the time of the year. Time difference, that's massive. If you're going from the East Coast to Europe, it's not that big. It's 5 hours, I think, or maybe less, maybe 4 now. I don't know. It's not that big a deal. That's a recovery in probably 2 days, and then you come over to Israel. But it's so hard on you physically taking a trip like that, and it's not like you're flying from New York to Virginia, and you have all you have is a carry-on bag or something like that. You got to keep track of the baggage, and it's just generally uncomfortable. Taking trips like that, it can save you a few $100s, but remember, you're in Israel, and there's wars and more coming. So you got to ask yourself, why are you doing that? There's wars and there's more wars coming. That's going to happen. So why are you doing this? You got to ask yourself, you know what I'm saying? What are you going to do here? Things are still rather expensive here. I think they're on the way down, maybe, but they're very expensive right now. And there's things that you can't avoid, like food. I mean, unless you've learned how to be a breatharian, where all you do is breathe air, you don't eat food. That's a joke. You're gonna have to eat, and if you just wanted to eat fruit and vegetables, it wouldn't cost you as much, but it would still cost you, shockingly. So you'd have to find yourself a place to live, and then you better you need to get yourself food, and well, I don't know why you're coming. I mean, I'm not saying don't come. I'm saying I don't know what your goal is. That's what I'm trying to say. What's your goal? What's your purpose? And why do that's what I mean. I'm not trying to be sarcastic and say, what the heck are you coming here for? Who do you think you are? No, I'm saying, what are you coming for? I mean, you just want to tour Israel and see all the stuff and go home in 10 or 20 days. And, that's one thing, If you want to come here and make it for redemption, you got to remember, we don't know what the date of redemption is, and we're not going to. We don't know the day of the hour. We just know, the signs, and we're coming into summer, but we came into summer and talked about this in previous summers, and it never happened. So you got a 3 month, if you're not from If you're from America or Canada or something, or a lot of countries, you got 3 months. If you're from Europe, you got 3 months. But if you're from Europe, you got to leave after 3 months, and you have to stay away for 3 months before you can come back. Okay? If you're from America or Canada, I believe you got 3 months, and then you could renew it. You don't have to leave. You could go to the immigration office, of which they have them in Tiberias, they have them in Jerusalem, they have them in Haifa, they have them in, Tel Aviv and Eilat, and they're all over. They must have, 15 offices or 20 or something. So there's a lot of places you could go get it done. And they're going to ask you, why do you want to stay? I mean, they're going to ask you that. And if you come up with a good reason, they'll do it. Now, the other thing is, this is my opinion, if you're here and tourism is very low, they'll be easier to convince you should stay, because they want somebody renting the B&B or renting the hotel and buying the food, and they would encourage, so then you'd have an easier time. You can go out after, you could stay, well, you got a 12-week run, you could stay 10, 11 weeks and then take off someplace where it's fun and cheap. Poland, by the way, I haven't been, but my wife has, and I have friends that went. It's very cheap and very fun and good food, and it's not bad. They don't like foreigners too much, but you're not going over there to live. You just want to go bang around. It's a nice place. Romania is a nice place, but it could be a little boring. They got a lot of museums and music, like orchestras and I guess ballet and opera and stuff like that. A lot of art museums. So you got a lot of that. And I've been in Romania myself. There's not a lot to do in Romania, Slovakia, Czechoslovakia, I don't know much about it. I hear it's nice. Italy, that'd be a blast. And it's quick. It's 2.5 hour flight from Israel, but you're going to have expense. So, I mean, if I was going to, throw it up against the wall to see what sticks, Poland is probably number one choice. Very cheap. They got their own currency. Very weak, cheap currency. Relatively safe place. People are not super friendly. They're not mad, and they don't hate you or anything. You can bang around there and have fun, and you can kill 2 weeks there and come back, and then you show up at the airport and you put your passport in the machine, and it might just give you 90 days and end the story. Or they might send you to what's called secondary, where a person will ask you, why are you coming back? What is the purpose of your visit? And, then you tell them, and that's what happens. So they may or may not bother you with that. You could say, well, I just didn't get enough done here in Israel. I want to see more stuff. We had a great time. I'm writing about it. I went, stuff like that. They might say, okay. Or they might say, oh, you're here already. I'll give you another month. Or I have no idea what they're going to say. It's a black box. What's my hunch? They'll be pretty lenient and let you go another 3 months. Okay, that's what I know. You could also try to renew your visa in Israel at their office, and if it fails, then you could leave and maybe go 3 weeks to another country, give it a little stretch, and say, oh, we just had to come back. The chances of them renewing it for you that way are quite good. Now, what happens when you get to 6 months is up? Well, now they're going to start scratching their head. What are you up to? You know? You know what I'm saying? They're going to say, what's going on? So they might not like the third time. Okay? So there's a lot of people that live in Jordan near the border with Israel, and they've probably figured, well, when they see stuff start to happening, they'll just use their American passport, come into Israel real quick, and be here for the great event. But they're not going to know when it's going to happen until it happens. I don't advocate that idea whatsoever. I just don't. So I can't tell you for sure what happens with, going in and coming out. I haven't checked Airbnbs and stuff like that. A lot of the Airbnbs, what people did is rent them out by the month to people living here. Like for an apartment. I don't know what's going on with them. You might be able to do one at 100 a night. That would be the low. Probably 140 would be more like it. And it depends on the city. If you're in Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, you might be 175. Guys, I don't know. It depends on the Airbnb and all this stuff. So I don't know. You could also try renting a place to live, an apartment. That could happen. Now, I have heard of people that come here and they go out in the street and they start handing out tracts and preaching in the street and stuff like that. And that'll get you thrown out sometimes. Sometimes not. Mostly it will. It might take the form of not renewing your visa. Um, it just depends what you're doing. If you're here and you're not hanging around in the Messianic congregations, which most of you wouldn't be, and you're not hanging around any of the churches, which you guys wouldn't be, and you're not out in the streets holding meetings and squawking and yelling in the streets, you probably they're not going to worry about you much at all. So I'll say a prayer for us. Let's see. My Heavenly Father, Jehovah, I pray for me and my wife and all the true believers in the households that we would have your strength, stamina, and endurance, and your healing and recuperative power would flow through us, healing us, and our animals and pets and us would be safe, secure, happy, healthy, and whole. And we pray for the peace of Jerusalem. I pray to do better videos. And pray for the people that need to find jobs or work, that they find a good job, that they consider a good job and what they consider good pay, if they're realistic and they get good pay. And they'd be happy with the job, and we all have enough money and then some extra. And I pray that those of us that are self-employed, so to speak, and need clients and customers find those also. I pray that Israel stop being damaged from missiles, drones, or any of that stuff, because then we just have to rebuild it and pray that doesn't happen. And let's see. Pray for the true gospel to spread more. Pray more people see my social media posts, including here, and the right people. And I pray we all stay happy, healthy, and whole, and don't forget that all things work for good for those who love the Lord. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And you can agree with all these things. Oh, spiritual warfare. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, for me and my wife and all the true believers in their households and families. I command all the unclean spirits to come out from any and all of these people immediately, never return again. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. You can agree with that. And I loose any witchcraft and sorcery off any of us and these people, never to return again and be worthless for all time. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you can agree. And I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach, my Shabbat Shalom. Thanks, guys.